We're live in Munich. It is PLZ Soccer at Euro 2024 in Germany. We'll be looking back over the nightmare that was, of course, the Allianz Arena. Germany 5, Scotland 1. We'll analyse Switzerland against Hungary, the Swiss 3-1 winners, in the company of Hugh, MacDonald and McManus. We're here in Germany all the way through for the 10 days for Scotland, and certainly hoping that we can get some positive results in match day 2 and match day 3 for Scotland in the group. But to the point of last night, ahead of the game, the colour was fantastic, the support was superb from both countries. The national anthems respectfully, of course both sets of fans showed their appreciation, and then it was game on. And then for us it was quite simply put your hands over your eyes and try not to watch too much of it.
Yeah, because it was an immediate thing. I mean, it was all this stuff about, like, see out the first 20 minutes, see out this. It was just immediately catastrophic. And it never, honestly, Peter, never got away from that. We did not play well at all. Tam and I were sitting watching the game after 35 minutes, looking at each other, and so that's the first little small possession play that we've had. We didn't seem to have either the guts or the technique to play out from the back, so that invited more German pressure onto us, and the result was never in doubt.
Yeah, Tam, we all went there, I think, with a realisation. I mean, I know I get a fair bit of abuse, as everybody does on social media, on the suggestion that I thought Germany were always going to win. I started to feel a little bit like a killjoy when I was in the middle of the Marienplatz and the Scotland fans were so enthusiastic, so looking forward to the game. But you have to offer a sense of realism. They are so many levels above us, and we, I think, if you're not at it as a Scotland player and you don't perform, and if you've got a team that's like that, when we're not at it, we are so far off it, and that's how it was unfolding.
Yeah, it was. I think Germany played well, Peter, but I think the overriding feeling was we didn't turn up. You need 7, 8, 9 players playing out their skin to beat a German team. There's no doubt about that. I don't think we had one player that was a pass mark. I can't think on the night he played well. He was okay. I don't think anybody, Peter, actually covered herself in any glory. The goalkeeper, obviously, we'll speak about. You know, probably the first goal and the last goal. I think he's suspect that. The Ryan Porteous tackle, I think the game was gone anyway, but after that it was, can we keep it to 3 or 4? And all the build-up, Peter, all the sense of we could do something, it was just, as Hugh said, it was wiped out within 10-15 minutes. You're 2-0 down and you're staring at a heavy defeat. But the good thing is there's 2 more games. It's not a one-off game, there's 2 more games. We watched Switzerland, Hungary today. At half-time you're thinking the Swiss look very handy, but I thought Hungary definitely come back into the second half and could have nicked a draw before the Swiss killed them off towards the end. So I don't think there's anything in those 2 teams that would terrify you. But again, we're going to have to play well in both games to get through.
Before we look ahead to the 2 matches, let's talk in depth about what we witnessed, because it's the first chance really after one of the longest nights I've ever experienced in that stadium. I mean, it was a wonderful stadium. Getting there, the excitement of being at the opening ceremony is fantastic. Thankfully, UEFA has realised, sometimes unlike FIFA, that you do not need a long-winded opening ceremony of everybody holding hands and you know, all sorts of pop stars. So it was a quick 15 minutes then, straight into the teams coming out. Did he get his team right?
No, but how much that actually impacted on the game, who knows? I mean, it'd be daft to sit here and suggest that there was options available to him that would have, you know, maybe materially changed the result anyway. The result was rather than a selection problem, the result was a performance problem. But I think the 2 areas where we were talking about, the rest of the team seemed to pick itself. The 2 areas that surprised me slightly brought Porteous in, because he always plays Hanley, who's a steadier pair of hands, or certainly a pair of feet.
But is that after the act that unfolded, Hugh? Because I think all of us were turning around and saying, I mean, you were the first to point out before the game, Hanley only had 9 minutes. Would you take a chance on him? No.
I thought he would have played Hanley on the basis that he's a loyal manager, you know, and he picks loyalty. Yeah,
but you wouldn't have picked him.
I would have picked Hanley.
After 9 minutes. I mean, yeah, you know, over the last couple of days you've seen he's only 9 minutes. Would you pick him?
My team, as I said before, I got 2 things wrong. I thought Hanley would play, and I thought he would play Gilmore and McGregor. Tam got it right. He said Hanley's not going to play, and he's going to make a choice between Gilmour and McGregor. So I got that wrong. The Gilmour situation is, I suppose, simply down to he expected Scotland to have to chase the ball, so he wanted more legs than Christie, I think. But if you're trying to play out from the back, I would always say Gilmour's your ball. I mean, because Gilmour is he's so comfortable on the ball. And he'll take it in spaces. Whether that would have changed the whole performance, I don't think so, because I think everybody played so poorly, Peter. I think, honestly, there was no redeeming factors last night. There wasn't as if you would said, well, we're a wee bit unlucky here, we're a wee bit unlucky there. It was just a catastrophe.
It was a game where you become a better player if you never played.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I get it. I'd said about Billy Gilmour, but people are going, Billy Gilmour should have played that. I totally agree. I don't think it would have made a great deal of difference because the whole team was off it, Peter, and one player's not going to change that.
No, and that was the point I was just about to make, because I know you mentioned that, and I know everybody after the fact is a genius on what a manager should have done. I think we've got to get a sense of perspective here, because I know he was a little bit prickly on his fallout with Austin McPhee, and a journalist asked Steve Clarke after the game about what was their fallout about, and he got a little bit tetchy. Managers do that because Steve Clarke wants to win. He wants to do well for the country. But you live or die by your results, and we have to, and fans will offer a criticism, and some will be vitriolic in nature towards them if this doesn't go well on the second match and the third match. But he put out a squad, and he was hoping that the team that he put out there would actually get to a situation where they were going to step up, maybe press when they could, but keep it tight. It didn't work out, quite simply because they were all off it. I thought the keeper was poor. I thought he was culpable for two of the goals. And again, we're not exactly, revealing to everybody something that they didn't know already, Hugh. We leak goals. Anthony Ralston's been a bit part player for Celtic. You've got Porteous, who plays for Watford. You're then in a situation where you've got Hendry. And this is where our problems lie. Our problems lie because we can't stop people scoring, and we need two to sometimes get a draw. We can't score goals, Tam.
No, we can't at the minute, Peter. And defensively, we've always been looked upon as quite sturdy. Don't give much away. Even before that, with Walter Smith and Alec McLeish, and even with Gordon Strachan, we're quite sturdy at the back. We didn't give much away. We didn't score many, but we didn't concede many. And I think, obviously, the 5 goals that we lost last night, I think the build-up, even the couple of friendly games, the Finland game, there's just signs that there's something not quite right in that backline in terms of defending as a unit and cross balls.
Tam, I'm going to stop you there, because I think we're in danger of rewriting history. I can remember Scotland playing England at Wembley with Gordon Strachan, who was desperately hoping that he could lead Scotland to major championships. And basically, we played well. We played some really good football, but we lost 3 goals at Wembley in a qualifier when the ball was played into the box because we couldn't defend. And Gordon Strachan quite simply said, we don't have central defenders. We can't defend. And that hasn't changed. We didn't suddenly get a Jack Hendry that you looked and thought, there's the door bolted, a Ryan Porteous. My God, we're playing Kieran Tierney in a back three at times. We don't have the central defenders. So I was always of the opinion ahead of the game, with the quality that they have, I was scared about our back line, and so it turned out.
No, it did turn out that way, Peter. I just think defensively, you're right, we've not got an old-fashioned centre-half. We've not got a Gordon McQueen or an Alec McLeish or someone that just wants to head it. Grant Hanley's probably the closest we've got to that, Peter.
Yeah.
When crosses come in the box, he shouts and he goes and attacks it. I think we've got pace at the back. For a long time we had no pace, but with defenders that would sit deep. I think Hendry, Porteous and Tierney are all quick. But we were playing so deep, their pace wasn't needed. We needed 3 old-fashioned centre-halves last night, Peter, to just defend everything that came into the box. Track runners, we've not got that. He's got Liam Cooper there, he's got Hanley to come in. I mean, he could reshuffle it. He's got to, obviously, with Porteous been out.
I thought
bring someone in.
I thought the midfield see when the midfield's not working as well, Tam. When the midfield's not working, Hugh, we're goosed, because their attitude last night, they were off it. McGinn looked as if he was towing a caravan. McGregor was totally and utterly ineffective in the game. And you're starting to look and you're saying to you, and McTominay, the 3 of them just didn't get a grip of it. And you can always tell when there's fear in a game, because you start punting it aimlessly into channels where nobody's there.
the great thing yesterday was the masterclass in midfield from the Germans, where you have somebody like Kroos who was just, playing the ball whenever he wanted it to wherever he wanted. And that was because of great movement. Gundogan's movement between the lines, between the midfield and the back three or back five, whatever you want to call it. Gundogan was making these runs. Havertz was making all these sort of curving runs down the side, pushing the team. And Scotland get scared. Scotland got really, really scared. And you could see why they're scared, because if you give the ball away to these guys, they're going to do something with it. And then when they're pressuring you, and Germany pressured high up and very energetically, well, then that's when the real fear kicks in, and then it spirals out of control. You're losing a goal, then you're losing another goal, then you've got a penalty, you've got a man sent off, and it's not even half time. The whole thing, actually, seeing the way of it, reflecting back on it after the half time, 5-1, was getting out of town all right.
You'd have taken that at half time.
Yeah. Now, to the incidents, I thought the goalkeeper was poor overall. I thought he culpable for 2. I don't think Ryan Porteous needed to do the scissors kick on Gundogan. When he gets the ball, he's done his job. He just doesn't need to go in with that rash follow through. And all of a sudden, he's out of it, and we're down to 10 men. And he's out of the next game as well. So suddenly, we're in a situation where we're again grasping at straws about the back line.
Yeah, obviously there's going to be a change there. It has to be for the next game. Whether he brings in McKenna, I don't know who will bring in. Grant Hanley, possibly. The goalkeeper, first goal, really poor, Peter. You see it again. It's middle of the goal. He's got to turn that round the post. Even the one that Porteous gives the penalty away, he palms it back into the goal. He's got to palm that to the side. I think when you're a defender, I've got a little bit of sympathy for Ryan Porteous on this one, because when you're a defender and it's a last gasp challenge, the guy's going to put it in the net. You just throw yourself. You throw yourself at the ball. I don't think he's went in to do him.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can't go in with 2 feet. You went in with 2 feet like that. You throw yourself at the ball and you put your leg out like that to try and get some sort of body part on it to block it. So I think his technique to go and block it cost him the red card. And as Hugh said, listen, 3-0 at half time, due to 10 men. I think the second half, if the Germans keep the foot in the gas here, we could get murdered here 6 or 7. So I think 5-1, we get out it. We see the 2 teams today. I think the Swiss looked a little bit a cut above Hungary. I think Hungary had to go the second half. The big game, the all-encompassing game for me is Switzerland. We cannot get beaten that game, and else we're going home.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing about it as well, which has put us on the back foot, everybody's talking about, it's even easier than previous campaigns to qualify, because I think there's only 8 teams going home after the group stage, so you've got these third best placed teams. But I think we're goosed for that already,
certainly
because we're in a -4 deficit.
-4 immediately.
Yeah.
So if you only got the 3 points, you go up to -3 because you win by at least 1 goal. But to redress it is, I think Steve Clarke got it bang right after the game. He says 4 points is what's needed. So you've got the simple equation of that is 1-1, draw 1. I think Switzerland is a good game to come, because that's the game that's the immediate game. You've got your demands there. You've got to go out and win it. Hungary came into the tournament with great fanfare, the unbeaten campaign. People talking about them as dark horses, not to win it, but maybe to progress to quarters. They didn't look that kind of team today. I thought Switzerland looked the better team in the first half, and I think Switzerland fell off predictable in the second half, because if you're 2-0 up, there is a bit more caution, and another team has to come forward.
Yeah.
So I think the next game's a big game, as it always is in international football, and I think Scotland will have to go and try and win it.
Pierre, sorry, what I noticed about the Swiss team today, we watched the game together, was the high press. The Germans done that to us. They got their tactics bang on. We're going to press him high, and we're going to force him to kick it up to one striker.
Yeah.
And if the Swiss do that again, I think they will do it to us. As Hugh said, the second half they didn't need to do it. They were 2-0 up. They sat deeper. Hungary obviously came into the game, but I think the Swiss will try and get after us early. The front 4 all looked athletic and quick. I think they've got legs to go and press us. And if we don't keep the ball, if we get Gilmour, I think will come into the team.
That's what I think. And Gilmour's a certainty.
If we don't play 2 and 3 passes and play through their press, it's just going to be the same again. We're going to punt it to someone, and we're going to eventually lose the game. So that's an important aspect as well, I think.
Yeah, just to put it in perspective, I had a look at the teams beforehand, doing a bit of research about Switzerland and Hungary. And you only have to look, they've got, I think Switzerland themselves have got 3 Bologna players. They've got Xhaka, who had a great season with Leverkusen. You've got Akanji at the back. You've got Scherer, who's playing at Newcastle. You've got the boy up front who's in his second cap and scores the opening goal, Dua. And by the way, the one thing that filled me with fear about him is he was right on the shoulder of the centre halves, and he was quick as. And by the way, you know, he could do us some damage. I'm going to, as we 24 hours on, I'm going to try and cut, you know, the Scotland side some slack and say you can't play that bad again. And the manager just has to say, well, listen, let's get at it, let's reshape it, let's look at this opposition, and let's do the press. Let's work hard. Let's try and play football, and let's get support to whoever he plays up front, because, you know, no matter what way we look at it, people will say, oh, Hearts fans will probably say, get Lawrence Shankland in there. But I don't know, Hugh. Lawrence Shankland at this level, you need somebody with movement, you need somebody who's quick, you need somebody who can hold the ball in. And Lawrence, for me, is one of those players that ball drops, 18-yard box, bang.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not a runner in the channel.
Well, the thing about it is, against Germany, we got 2 touches the whole game in the penalty box.
It was poor, wasn't it?
So I don't think Shankland's the solution, and I can hear Hearts fans and others screaming in my ear, because I don't think he doesn't give you the ability to run in behind. He's not quick enough at international level to do that on a dangerous basis, the way you saw Noah doing it today, for example. He's not a great hold-up player. He's got tremendous traits, and he's worked hard at the tremendous traits. He's got stronger in his game physically. He's a terrific finisher, but I don't think he's the man to offer us any solutions against Switzerland. I think the danger and Steve Clarke will be looking at it now. He says he'll be trying to shorten the pitch. He'll be trying to play a high line. And if you look at that Switzerland team today, it gives you the fear playing a high line against them.
Yeah.
But I think they've got to, and then he's got to say to the likes of Callum McGregor, McTominay, and Gilmour in particular, I trust you to take the ball with your back to and I trust that we can play these little rotations to get out of a press, because anybody, it doesn't take the greatest manager in the world, it doesn't need Yakin or anybody else, it doesn't need a pro manager. Just look at how Scotland struggled against the press on Friday night, and you say, well, that's what
the Swiss will do that again. Yeah. Oh, they've seen that game, they'll be right at us again.
Well, they will be right at us again, but give us your thoughts on it in the comments section below on YouTube, and of course on Twitter as well. We'd love to know what you think about it, especially if you are watching it in Germany, or indeed if you are a Tartan Army fan back home, because our team back home are going east and west of the country to some of the big fan zones, and great work from Cheryl, from Alison, from Blair out there, and Patrick Mullen as well, doing a great job interviewing the likes of Alan McInally, fans in some of the fan zones as well. If there's anybody back home that needs to be interviewed, they are on it, and great that we've got a team here that's working away as hard as ever. Kerry is going out there and interviewing the Tartan Army, the ones that we can get that are quite sober. Because
that's just interviewers.
Well, just about to say, yeah, exactly. I was just about to say, going into that Marienplatz yesterday was crazy, because they were absolutely bananas, and they'd been at it drinking non-stop. But I think the mood in the whole of Germany at that time was great. Scottish fans were heading to the Allianz, just thinking to themselves if we could maybe sneak a draw, but there wasn't a catch chance in hell. And that's where I want to put into perspective, Tam. You know all about levels. You've probably scored a couple of great goals in a game in the Scottish Premiership and thought to yourself, yep, I'm a player. All of a sudden, you come up against another level of player. And by the way, I'm not just talking about because you're thinking to yourself, you're looking and laughing at your career right now and going back over it, but every player, sooner or later, comes up against a side and individuals that are just 2 or 3 levels above you. And I put to John McGinn last night, I mentioned to Kieran Tierney, sometimes you just have to suck it up and look and say, wow, these guys are 10 times better than us.
Yeah, it didn't help that we we were feeble in every aspect of the game. You know, we weren't aggressive and didn't keep the ball. Last time I was impressed with the Germans. They played the two 10s sitting, you know, behind a false 9. You know, their movement. They didn't play a set position.
Yeah, Tam,
you know,
see the boy Kroos.
Oh, he's world class.
He had about 188 touches, right? and at every point, I thought the only thing missing from him was a Hamlet cigar in the theme, because he just absolutely strode around into wee little pockets, and then he dictated play. And the other great thing that he had in abundance, and this is after 9 minutes, is he had midfield runners who are going in behind us. He was waiting on them non-stop, and that's difficult to deal with.
When you've got that pace up front and you've got somebody that can pick a pass, I mean, that's a dangerous combination. And the top players know when to quicken the game. You know, sometimes you need to slow the game down, you keep the ball fine, but then bang, it's a quick pass through, take 2 or 3 Scotland players out on the half turn, and then you're straight at us again. And it happened all night. That movement up front must have been a joy for him. You know, it was like a great passer of the ball, you know, great vision. And as I said, anything over the top or in between us, you know, we weren't compact enough, tight enough. You know, we should have been forcing them wide. They were just playing through us at will. You know, the first half especially. So. Yeah, I'm really impressed with the Germans. Obviously, the pressure was all on them in the opening game. You know, home nation. You know, and they're off to an absolute flyer in terms of getting the fans behind them and scoring a few goals. But I just think it's one of the worst performances, not only under Steve Clarke, but one of the worst performances I've seen in a while.
What would you give it out of 10?
Our performance?
Yeah.
2.
2 out of 10.
Yep.
Hugh?
I would go low. I honestly don't think there was a redeeming factor. I don't want to get that
lower than 2.
Like, let's be serious. Let's be serious for a moment and say, what is the most positive thing you could say about Scotland or any of the Scotland players? Seriously, and the most positive thing is the game's over. That's it. There wasn't one performance.
That's my point. My point is we didn't get a 7 or 8-1 hammering. And remember, it was a German who scored for us as well.
I know, but apparently that gives Steve Clarke a problem, because I think he wants to play him up front against Switzerland.
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard. It was difficult. It's difficult to watch. Again, putting it in perspective, you know, there's some people who find it very easy to slaughter the manager. It's game 1. Did we expect to win it? No. Were you unhappy with team selection? Possibly. We've mentioned some players. Would it have made a blind bit of difference? In my mind, they could have brought all the subs on and played them against the 11, and the 11 Germans would still have beaten Scotland. They brought on at one point Leroy Sané, while Grant Hanley came on for Scotland, and I thought,
and then
wow.
They bring on the first time they bring on their only genuine centre forward that's in the squad, Fulkrug. They bring him on as well, and he does what a genuine centre forward does.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a Champions League finalist. I mean, that's what you're looking at. We've got Champions League players in the team, 4 or 5 Champions League players in the team. They've got Champions League winners in the team.
Absolutely.
And the ones who are not Champions League winners, like Wirtz, for example, played. I mean, he's just such a talent.
One game away for a treble.
Yeah. And the other thing which I noticed, and this was for me at one point, I'm sitting in the press box, Kerry's sitting next to me, the fans are all cheering, and then all the German fans get up onto their feet and they cheer as I think he's 33, maybe even more than that. How old is Thomas Müller?
I think he'll be a bit older than
that, but he comes on and I'm thinking, listen, they're adding insult to injury here. You know, I was waiting on Wolfgang Overath coming on and Uli Hoeneß because it was just one of those. It was a really emotional time to see him come on. But you're thinking to yourself, well, they're throwing him on a wee bit of nostalgia because the boy Musiala looked absolutely fantastic as well.
He's a terrific talent, an absolute terrific talent.
I think when you look at the success of German teams over the piece the whole season, you know, Bayern Munich, not obviously a great season domestically, but semi-finals of the Champions League, could argue we're unlucky not to beat Real Madrid, and then you've got Dortmund getting to the final, and you've got Leverkusen getting the Europa League final. So I think I don't think the German actual national team, I don't think people were looking at that coming into this and going, I fancy them this season. But I think when you look at the overall collective of the players have got and how well they're playing this season, then I think they are going to be a threat towards the end of the tournament.
Well, I'm looking at teams I can't see past France.
No.
But if you're looking at a team that should have a really good chance of being there or thereabouts, it's got to be Germany, because they're on their own home soil. And if they gather that momentum that we're all talking about, yes, Spain looked good in their opening match against Croatia, but if you're looking at teams, Germany must fancy their chances playing in home soil.
Yeah, and the whole down in Germany's past, because under Hansi Flick there was this element of there's some internal discord and the thing just wasn't working at all. Bringing Nagelsmann, who's at one time had the reputation of the brightest and best European coach, a guy that would change the whole culture of European coaching. Now, it didn't quite work out for him at Bayern, but this guy's a coach. There's just no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And then you look at his team, he's got Havertz, scored the winner in a Champions League final, Gundogan, Champions League, Neuer in goal, Champions League, Kimmich, Kroos. You just go completely through that team. You say to yourself, there's enough in that team at least to get to the semi-finals. And once you get to the semi-finals, all bets are off, aren't they?
Yeah, just one footnote before we finish. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. And of course you can follow us on our Twitter account as well, right across our social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube as well as Twitter. We've got lots of great content. The team that are out here are working hard to bring you as much of the fun element of the Tartan Army following Scotland. We've got interviews with some of the celebrities who all of a sudden turn up. I think the stars of the show are the Tartan Army, to be perfectly honest with you. But the content will keep on coming all the way for the next 10 days, right through to that final game, when I think it'll all be to play for. And on that footnote that I'm talking about, Tam, Steve Clarke, he got us here. You can't suddenly have a knee-jerk reaction and start slaughtering the manager. It's one game that nobody expected to win, so I think it's a clean slate. Let's see his team. Let's see the way they play. Let's see if they can bounce back with actions rather than any kind of after-match apologies.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get a performance, Peter, against Switzerland. I think the players will know that within themselves that they didn't do themselves justice, individually, collectively as a team. As I said earlier, you know, the eyes of the football world were on them, you know, in that big opening game. And you come off that pitch, you know, as a player, you come off that pitch and you think, I was miles off it there. I mean, you've got 11 coming off the pitch thinking, I was miles off it there.
Yep.
Inevitably, you're going to get a tanking, which we did get. So I think we're going to get a big bounce, but I think we're going to get a big reaction to that in Cologne, and hopefully we can get a win, get us right back into the group.
Hugh, final word from you?
I'm positive about it. I think this is a game that suits us. It's a big game against a team that are on a par with us, maybe a slightly above us. I think we've got a chance. I think that there'll be a different attitude, there'll be a different mentality, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, give us your point of view on it. We'll be mentioning over the next few days when we're live right across all of Munich. We'll still be here for a couple of days. We'll be heading off to Cologne and then, of course, on to Stuttgart. 10 days and we're already into day 3, which is incredible. I wonder if we're going out for a meal tonight, guys, whether the Tartan Army will have just slowed down a little in the centre of Munich. No,
I wouldn't take any bets on that.
No, I still think they'll still be going for it. Give us your thoughts on our YouTube channel. Why not just put your comments in the section below on our Twitter account as well. Tam, Hugh will give us constant updates in their video diary. The two of them have turned into complete stars, by the way. I think we're going to be doing a on-the-wall documentary with these two. They've been absolutely brilliant. And the entire team out here are going to do their best to bring you even more content and, of course, hopefully, fingers crossed, something positive against Switzerland next up. So, from Hugh MacDonald, from Tam McManus, from myself, Peter Martin, do look out for what we're doing tomorrow as we continue our coverage of Scotland at Euro 2024 here in Germany. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening.